PS3 Network.
Welcome to the forecast. Well, it's normally 4 people. Tonight is 2. We may have a special guest coming on as well, but we are back again with another show. And tonight we'll be reviewing Dear Mama, which is on Hulu if you have not watched it already. And this kind of gives you a in-depth look at Afeni Shakur as well as Tupac. So it's not just the story of Tupac. It gives you more in-depth look of him and his mother and what their relationship was. So it may just be the 2 of us. We got Doc, who's in Vegas covering the Stars, and then we also have Wilkes is on vacation this week. So we always ride with whoever is here most of the time if it's not something else going on. So. Let's bring on our guest for tonight. Hopefully, she is up and good to go. No, maybe not. So Keysha may be coming on the show. We will see. We'll keep you guys in tune with whatever's going on. But A-Trap, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man.
Yeah. All right. So initial thoughts, man. I've really been wanting to hear kind of your initial thoughts on this. Being, you're a hip-hop head, hip-hop guy, kind of like myself, and that was like my era. The Tupac, that was, still remember when he died and everything. But give me your initial thoughts.
My initial thoughts with this was extremely powerful, pleasantly surprising, and I truly enjoyed it. Believe it or not, I had fell out of love with Tupac,
Really?
Partially because of media. Because I was tired, he wasn't the Tupac that I fell in love with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this documentary made me go, this is why I used to like Tupac. So yeah. I really appreciate the Hughes brothers for coming up with this. I knew, I didn't learn anything. All the stuff that I learned, everything I saw, I already knew. But I truly appreciated the reintroduction to Tupac, Afeni Shakur, man. It was dope. So
yeah,
those
it
are
was.
thoughts.
And it really gave an in-depth look, like I said, about him, but also some of the backstories and how he was actually beefing with the Hughes brothers, or with one of them. I don't know if it was both or one. I didn't know that story at all. So there was a lot of stories that I did not know. Shout out to those on the Facebook group. If you're in a Facebook group, there is a link you need to go to, streamyard.com/Facebook. Give Facebook authorization so we can see who you are if you're on Facebook. We got one and only Big Mo in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Somebody said, hey, being an A-Trap, we appreciate you. Big Illinois is in the building, smoking on a big stogie right there. Yeah.
Smoking another day. Smoking another day.
Appreciate you for tuning in. We got Poetic Sins in the building. How you doing tonight? Appreciate that. All right, so my initial thoughts was I felt like from the jump it was just dope. It was Tupac, and anything we've seen him do, he puts his entire self into it. And even though he didn't direct this, it was him and his mom, but you see where he got that. I'm gonna do everything at 100 miles an hour, and whatever ends up getting in my way or whatever ends up happening, I'm just gonna deal with it and keep going. And that's one thing I really appreciated about this, and some of the stories too that I hadn't heard of. So DJ Knox in the building, Bishop Brian D. Jr. Senior the Third, Esquire. Yeah, the Esquire.
That's Anthony, man. That's Anthony. He ain't DJ Noxie Anthony.
Anthony, we going by the government. What's up?
Not,
What's up, Knox? What's up, Knox?
We get through beefing the end.
All right, so man, the story that it started off with first is the dude that's his uncle. Was that his uncle or his cousin?
Uncle.
Uncle, the one with the socks. So I'm like, where is this? Where is this whole thing even going? Is what I was thinking of when he showed up. But immediately he said like he was my dude. He was the one that went around with me, and I was like, something, man, you can't do this with me, man, because I'm about to do crime. The way he said it was just so like, I'm about to do crime. You can't come with me.
No, it was his cousin. It was his cousin.
Yeah, and then the other guy who was in Georgia, that was his other cousin. But the 1993 Halloween story, had you ever heard of that story at all?
Yeah. That story legendary, man. I mean,
okay, I knew that he went to jail for different things, or I didn't know that was the reason why he went to jail for one of them, though. That one, something that I learned.
Big bro. Yeah. That story legendary, man. I mean, see, okay. Tupac is what, 3 years young? Tupac and Big Illinois the same age. So, we were introduced to Tupac. We were introduced to Tupac on this video called The Same Song.
Yep.
The world was introduced to him.
Yep.
So that's when we started rocking with him, because at that point in hip hop, we were doing that black thing. It was, every man between like 21 and maybe 17 get the white man at me syndrome at that point. I don't know how it is now, but during that time period, we were all doing that pro-black thing. And Digital Underground was always a fun party group. Yep. And when they showed up, when that Same Song video, they was in the junkyard, and Tupac came in with a dashiki and the African crown, and he wasn't rapping like DU was rapping. So, and then at that time, you got to realize X-Clan was hot, Care BDP was hot, Public Enemy was hot. So we were like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
So this dude, so by the time, the world started being introduced to him, it was insane, man. It was dope.
Yeah. All right, Keysha, how you doing tonight? Welcome.
I'm fine. I'm finally got everything squared away. So
Good. Well, you not lagging, we not lagging, so we good. It's a good night.
Yeah. It's a great night.
Well, thank you for coming back on the forecast, which is the 3cast tonight. We appreciate you for reaching out. We were kind of talking, giving our initial thoughts on this Dear Mama series. So give us your initial thoughts, how you felt about it, the opening of it, and before you even started watching it, kind of what were you looking to seeing in this?
You know what? It was really everything I expected it to be. So when I first started watching it, I'm like, okay, it's telling this whole story and everything in the beginning, but I really loved it. I watched it 2 times, and then I went over into like the third part of it. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It kind of, brought back a few songs, of course, to my memory, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
How'd you feel about it really diving into his mom? I appreciated that, because I think obviously we know most of Tupac's story, but to hear his mom's story, where she grew up, and then he heard the sister, she was probably the funniest person on the whole thing.
Yeah, she was funny. She was indeed very funny. I enjoyed basically how they really told her story from beginning to end, even when she was pregnant with Tupac.
Right.
It did say, she didn't know who the father was per se, but I think she kind of did know. But it really gave a great outline of both of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. And it showed how connected they were together. That was one thing that I really showed. What's up, Chief? Rockin' in the building. Courtney Harper, thank you for tuning in. Anna said, I'm doing I'm doing a bit better, thanks. I've been thinking about watching Dear Mama. Yeah, I would say definitely watch it. Definitely watch it. It's a well done documentary, and it's made by Alan Hughes, or the Hughes brothers, which directed a lot of his videos. So they knew him. They were around him. So it wasn't as if they just came up and said we could do something on Tupac. So
right.
So we were talking about the story at the beginning where he seen basically it was two white people jumping this black guy, and they end up getting into it. And they were like, he was like a marksman, and he just kneeled down and fired 3 shots, and they were like, nah, man, you didn't hit him. So that was the beginning. So I thought they were gonna go further into that, but they ended up doing that, I think, towards the second level. So that was pretty cool how they did that. But they were just saying, man, he protected black people at all costs. And I felt like he did that. He did do that. He did that in his music. He did that because that's what his upbringing was. And so A-Trap, they really heavily went into the Black Panther Party. They talked about Hampton, and so talk about that aspect of it and how it really showed what the Black Panther was really about.
We at this point in history, we've been told that the Black Panther Party self-defense was a terrorist group, and it wasn't. Right. Well, everything is perspective. If you are anti-black, if you are into oppressing black people, they are a terrorist group because they weren't going to allow it.
Right.
They used the education. They were educated men. They were military men. And they were just men of pride who were protecting the community. And I really wish they would have gotten a little deeper into it from the women, because the beautiful part about Afeni Shakur is a lot of the brothers in the Black Panther Party at that point had got incarcerated. And you saw, if you look into it, you see those Afeni and Asada and a bunch of all those other sisters in New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, they start taking over, and they weren't playing no games. See, the brothers out there with guns talking. Right. When the sisters took over, they started talking about action. They were really, they was about to go hard body. So that's what the New York 21, and it was Chicago 21. I mean, that was one of the most powerful instances of the Black Panther Party, because when they let those sisters, they angered the men, and the men grabbed guns. And when they angered those sisters weren't playing no games. They was talking about taking over the world. So it was a beautiful situation.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the Black Panther Party, you see it from other members' perspectives, but then when you see it, and I was directly, correlated to Tupac, I think that gave even more to the story. And I think one of the most powerful parts was when he was at the meeting with them, and he's like, "Look, y'all too comfortable. Like you don't really understand what's going on, because you guys are more so on the other side of things now than you are like really involved." So he was not afraid, obviously, to ruffle any feathers, to go after anybody who was not on the program of helping us as a people. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things that spoke in these first 2 episodes. This is just the first 2. We can touch on tonight. We could do 3 and 4 next week, and then we'll do 5. But so it did a lot, touching on what he was really about and where it came from. So
was that the meeting that they told him not to cuss?
Yes. The lady reached over and said, "Watch your mouth,
watch your language." Yeah.
He was like, "Nah, F y'all."
Right. Yeah.
And right after she said that, she said, "Nah, F all y'all. Forget y'all."
Pretty much.
Yeah, he was, man, he was just one of those people that you knew was gonna say what was on his mind. There wasn't no, I'm gonna try to filter this. I'm gonna say what's on my mind, whoever it is. What's up, CJ? Thank you for tuning in.
But you know what, though? This movie helped me get in touch with my inner gangster, though. Like, I have never rapped so many Tupac songs in my life. So I walked out like my fist balled up. Like, this has made me proud to be a black woman. You know what I mean? It was that good. So
yeah.
If you haven't watched it, please do so.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. I don't know how long it's gonna be on there. I don't know if this is one of those limited time only type of documentaries, but definitely watch it. It'll be 100% worth your time. It's an hour long for each episode. So it kind of opened up him being in jail in 1995, and that was kind of allowing him to tell his own story. It wasn't, they did interview other people, but it was more so him and his mother telling their stories, which I appreciated that. It wasn't more of somebody else telling what he did. It was him telling of what he did. So that was another, but the Tupac Amaru, the actual name, where it came from, I felt like that was another dope part of it, because you hear his name, but where does it truly come from? and I feel like that was a powerful moment too. A-Trap, touch on that?
Yeah, it was just another situation to where as you have to delve into your own history. You get flashes of this in other cinematic instances, but it was beautiful the way she broke down who he was, why she named him that way, and ironically, it does. It's kind of like my aunt Arvis. She used to always say, "Name your children from the Bible." And name them for somebody great in the Bible, and they will project their greatness. And his mom did the same thing. Sad to say that the dude he was named after died early too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was a martyr. Yeah, the way he died. Yeah.
Yeah. I like you said, Ben, I did enjoy the fact that they allowed them to tell their story, like how they started off with him when he was 17, I think, still in school.
Yeah.
And they had all that stuff, filmed and used that part of the movie too. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot.
It was felt like it wasn't rushed.
Right.
They didn't try to get to a point too quickly. And that's
Hmm.
and A-Trap, you talked about this, how spread it out. Don't just try to make it into one whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that Tupac movie was so fast that you couldn't have touched on everything that he dealt with. And I taught him emotionally. And the video of him at 17, you would have thought he was 25 or 30 years old. The stuff that
Hmm.
he was talking about was so, I think, and they even said it, ahead of where people around his age were at. But that just goes back to his upbringing and how he was raised. He was raised to be a leader, to be different, to think outside of just the normalities of life. So, and he definitely showed that.
Yeah.
So, Afeni, Black Panther, her sister Glow, which again she was one of the highlights of this. She just pretty much told her like it was. I don't care.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna talk
Yes,
behind
she
her
did.
back, and I'm gonna say it to her face. I don't care.
Hmm.
So,
Oh
so
yeah.
she I don't know if y'all realize or seen this, but when her finger was pointing, she had that Arsenio Hall finger. I was like, dang, her finger long.
I didn't notice that. I didn't
Go
notice
back,
that.
go back and watch it. Her finger was long as hell. Like she
Yeah.
Arsenio Hall on the set. But so
Understand.
where Tupac grew up, Baltimore, New York, Marin City. Now, doing what I was trying to grasp during this time, was his mom with him the entire time, or was his mom more so doing her own thing, and he was going to these different places, living with different people? I don't know what.
He was living with different people.
Okay.
Wasn't she in jail?
She had got out of jail. She got out of jail by 1973. She was living with. They even mentioned that she decided to move to Oakland. Tupac, his stepfather, they call him himself. I can't think his first name, but his last name is Shakur. He was recently released from incarceration, and they were moving around because they moved to Oakland because they opened up a free clinic. That was the thing. The Black Panther Party self defense. Not only did they institute things like WIC, Braille on your elevators, ramps, disability ramps that lead into buildings and things of that nature. They were also throughout the country opening up free clinics so they could help people. And um, you know, I don't know, I would like to have a conversation with Afeni Shakur or some of the other Panthers that fell to drugs, because somehow or another, a lot of the Panthers got caught up in drugs. Huey P. Newton was a drug addict at the end of his life. He got caught up in drug addiction at the end of his life. A lot of the brothers and the sisters got caught up in the very web that they were fighting against. But yeah, she moved from New York to Baltimore, and then she moved from Baltimore to the Bay. And then when she hit the Bay, that's when the crack cocaine. But it would make sense now that I'm saying it, because you're talking about 1986, 87. Tupac was 15, I was 17, right?
Yeah.
And that's when crack, I remember the progression of crack during that period. It used to be they would sell bags of powder, and you had to make what they would call it freebase. And then I remember it was a show that used to come on Friday evenings called 2020. And they said the new social drug, and it's called crack. And they were talking about crack like it was weed.
Yeah.
And then it took over the world. So yeah, they were together, but I'm assuming she didn't become a full-blown addict to the drug until they got to Oakland. Because what people, a lot of people, because you don't want to make people look bad. I can remember at one point, cocaine was known as the white man's drug. It was a party drug, and then that
Yeah.
once you reduce the cost of it, and then people start rocking it up. I'm assuming that the people at that time thought, okay, this is another way to get high. And they didn't realize that you get real high, like from the people I know. And ironically, I was talking to a friend this weekend about drug addiction because he's in recovery. And he said you get real high real fast and then you slam. And he was like, it's not more, he was like, it's not really as addictive as they say. He said you just get real high, higher than you ever been, real fast, and just as fast as you get high, you go down.
Yeah.
So then you want to go get that high again. And in the words that he used, one is too many, 1,000 is not enough.
Yeah. And then you just kind of searching for that fix.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where that addiction comes in. But even the guy, Blood, one of the Black Panther, he was like, we all self-medicated. We all had something. Because you just think of the pain that you continue to see and the pain that's already in us just from our ancestors. It's you, and they was like, I don't know how she didn't have a nervous breakdown. Because you see so much that you experience, and then you have a kid that's in this world, and that's a lot, man. That's a lot to deal with. Now, I'm assuming she only had one, right?
No,
it was just Tupac, or she had other kids.
Tupac got an older brother and a sister.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
And see the thing, and that's my mother didn't go through any of these things, but my mother did go through a lot of these things. And it's amazing that the women of the 70s didn't all of them have nervous breakdowns, man. I mean, if I told you the story of my mom's life, it's tough, man. And I didn't identify with any stress or strife that my mother had, But just looking around, when you watch things like this, you look around and you realize, damn, the women of this time, because think about it like this: you got the tyranny, you got the genetic defect in you from suffering from 400 years of 250 years of slavery, right?
Right.
Then you got the 100 years of oppression that comes after slavery, right? Now you're living in this Americanized system, and then you got some of these men coming home addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
And then you fighting to keep your community together. These dudes coming home addicted to drugs, they father your children, and then they freaking out with PTSD, and we don't even know what PTSD is.
Right.
Now you dealing with a dude with PTSD, you dealing with this system, and now you got to raise your children under this type of strife. Yeah. Man, the fact that any black woman in America ain't nuts who were born in the 40s and the 40s and the 50s. If you ain't nuts, you powerful, man. You almost a superhero, man.
Yeah. I praise
even the sisters to this day.
Yeah, I praise my grandmother because she had 6 kids, so including my mom, and my mom's dad wasn't around, so she was pretty much, and it was more like that. The oldest one raised the little ones, and then the other one, you just keep going through that kind of cycle, but for her to still be here and to be in her right mind is a miracle. Damn near.
Yeah.
So, and you got different personalities. You're trying to figure out who doing what, and working 3 jobs, and trying to just being real, trying to have a social life. I'm sure she wanted to date. I'm sure she wanted to have a life outside of just working. So that's a lot. That's a lot.
You're saying that your grandmother raised her siblings? Is that what you were saying?
No. My grandmother had 6 kids, including my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, my mom did that too. She raised all of her siblings. She's the oldest.
So the oldest one. So my mom was the youngest. She was a baby. So the oldest girl, which was my Aunt Joe, she was the one that kind of raised the other ones because my grandmother was at work. So you just imagine, and being in the South, they were in North Carolina, so it's not like it was all like you could just everything was all good. You could just walk down the street and not have any prejudice or anything. You had to deal with that too. So it's,
yeah, man. I mean, this black experience in America is a mug, man, and especially for women, man. Like y'all mentioned your grandma, my grandmother, my dad's mom. She raised her siblings. They call her Big Sub, and they talk to her like they were her mother to the day she died. They would get into arguments and call my grandmother or come to my grandma's house. These grown women, these women with children my age, they think she better stop this. And you know, as a kid, you're like, y'all grown, how she gonna fix it? She her sister. But you know, you're a kid, you don't understand it, man. I mean, as I learned about my family, my grandmother, the reason I'm in Chicago is because I mean, like just the trauma in my family. So just imagine what Afeni is. My granddad got burned out of his town. He moved to Tuskegee and met my grandmother. Okay, he meets my grandmother. Everything is cool. Him and my Uncle Bunk and my Uncle Willie in the cotton fields. And the man tried to rape my great grandmother. So they pop him, they beat him up, but they got to be on the first thing smoking into Chicago.
Right.
And then
gotta get out of there. Yeah.
Right. So it's just the story of my mom and my dad's mom. How they didn't crack the hell up is beyond me. So you know, like when people go, man, you shouldn't have used the drugs. Man, I ain't, you know, thank God my parents, my grandma, my grandma, mother, and my mom, they never turned to nothing like that. But hell, man, I mean, like y'all were just mentioning how your siblings raised you. Blue Streak was me and Phyllis mama almost, because I mean, man, my mom had 2 children at 15 and 16 and 17. My sisters are 11 months apart. Then she meets my dad. He dies in front of her. Then her father died. Then her mother died. Now she helping raise her sister, her brother, and 3 children, while Blue Street got to cook for me and Phyllis. Yeah. So yeah, man, Afeni Shakur, you know, whatever she did, man, folks, you can judge if you like. That's a powerful woman. And then she bounced back miraculously.
And she was her own lawyer.
Talk about
it. Didn't go to law school. And all of them knew, like, when we get this bail money, we about to let her go first. She about to help all of us. Like, she was holding her own against, I mean, having a position in the Black Panther Party was not necessarily unheard of, but there was sexism, obviously, you know, that kind of stuff goes on.
Jealousy.
Infighting and all that, jealousy and all that. So so talk about that part, Keysha, when she was her own lawyer and she was kind of the forefront of getting everybody else out.
Well, I mean, that kind of empowered me a little bit too, you know, because like you said, she didn't go to law school. And they knew that they needed to get her out first, like A-Trap said, you know, so because they knew she would help everybody. Right. So, yeah, I mean, it was just a great part, you know. It wasn't a bad part to me in that movie.
Yeah.
Not one. There was not one part of that movie where it lost my interest, and that right there really, you know, you know, like wow, you know, that she, for her to have gone through so much, you know, and without losing her mind, you know, that was commendable. That she was able to do all that. So
right. I wanted to get to this comment CJ said. I know it's off subject, but I feel like I haven't been so long since I've seen everybody. I wish everybody well. Yeah, everybody's pretty much doing good. We just
thank you, CJ.
Just doing life, you know.
Pretty much.
Tupac is a New Yorker, low key, but a highly respected legend in the West Coast. Obviously, yeah. I think that's a great point that you bring up, because that is how his music became what it was, because he lived in so many areas. He wasn't really just a West Coast rapper. He just ended up being the last place he was before he died, and he obviously got hooked up with Dre and Snoop and all that. But I think all of that made him who he was as an artist, living in Baltimore, living in New York, and you couldn't really pinpoint. If you heard him, it wasn't like, oh, that's a West Coast rapper. You couldn't really do that for him.
The beautiful, man, like I said, man, I had, you know, like hip hop is my thing. You know, hip hop spoke to me as a young person. And it's one of the reasons I started reading. You know, you hear rhymes and people mention books. You know, what's that book? And I was really a gigantic Tupac fan, but they put that negative connotation of Tupac out there.
Yeah.
And I stopped. I was like, I can't do this anymore, because it was like I fell for the trick.
Yeah.
And this book, this documentary made me fall back in love with Tupac. It made me realize why, like, we could, you know, of course we didn't connect because I didn't know him, but we connected listening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, because the crew I was running with, we was doing the same things. We was rapping, like my favorite part, and it was only like 12, 13 seconds when he was rapping like Rakim.
Yeah. And he was 17. I think he was 17 at that moment. I'm like, I mean, I don't think people that was in there understood what he was doing. Like at that age to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of his friends was like, hey, my boy is better than Rakim and he only 17. The way he was rhyming to it though, it seemed you could tell that he was in this. Like he was fully engrossed in doing this. It wasn't something he was doing as a hobby. It was like, no, this is me through the music. So Annika's got a question. What are your favorite Tupac songs?
California Love.
Picture Me Rolling.
Against All Odds.
Hit 'Em Up. Man, that might be one of the best diss tracks.
Yeah.
It was more so funny. All right. It wasn't like, because when he started calling him fat and all that, it was more so like I feel like that was more of a new age battle. So that wasn't like a LL Cool J and Kool Moe Dee type thing. But that was, I think that was where battle rapping became more so making fun of people, as well as dissing you, as well as getting real life stuff that they bring up, kind of like Tupac and not Tupac, kind of like Nas and Jay-Z had their beef. But yeah, anybody else want to share some?
Yeah, I mean, so many, man. I mean, dude was making super duper hits. Yeah. Like the first I can't think of the song. I can see the video. It was the first track off the second album. Holla If You Hear Me.
Yeah.
Holla If You Hear Me. Love that joint. That first whole album. It was, man, the dude was just, he was saying things that we could relate to, like the Brenda Got a Baby song.
Oh yeah,
man.
I mean,
the way he was able to take something, because that was a story that was a real thing that happened, and he was able to take it and flip it into a song. Like his pen, he had one of the best pens of all time, man. Just to be able to turn that Machiavelli album, which that they touched on this in the film. Like he wrote that album, or he did that album in a matter of a couple of weeks. I don't even know if it was a couple of weeks. I don't remember the exact time frame, but he was ready. He was kind of ready to get out of that deal with Death Row. But he did that album so quickly. It's you don't. I don't know if you necessarily see that now. He had a dope pen, and he was definitely ahead of his time.
Yeah,
like people couldn't even relate to what he was saying. They were like, man, that's really, that's really deep. But they didn't really get what to the root of what he was trying to get to.
Another sad fact is the only other MC who was doing it like Tupac, he's dead too. DMX. DMX put out 2 #1 albums in 12 months.
1 year. Yeah.
So I mean, when his first album cooled off, he had his second album on the charts.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So and they both were suffering. You could tell they both were suffering, and one of them was suffering due to life, and the other was suffering due to his people.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said, man, it really touched me with this, because I was a gigantic Tupac fan, because I was on that pro black thing super duper hard. Y'all be calling me radical now. 1990 H-Rap was insane. and dudes started saying it. And then I was doing the X-Clan thing, and it was just, man, and I'm disappointed in myself, because I fell for the trap, because when I've been listening to his music lately, or some of his music, and I'm like, damn, I missed this. And Big Illinois, to his credit, Big Illinois was always on me, man. You tripping, B, you tripping. I was like, no, I don't want to hear all that.
Yeah, and I love how he was. Shout out to Ty. Lambert, thank you for tuning in.
Feel better, brother.
Smitty, thank you for tuning in. Yeah, Brenda Got a Baby was definitely a song people definitely could relate to, but he was not afraid to go on a talk show with a bunch of cops and a Karen. That lady was a Karen before it was a Karen.
Yeah.
Like, no, I know about your people. It was like, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
But,
right.
Yeah, he was not afraid to go basically into the lion's den and say, I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna be afraid of whatever you got to say. Let's have a conversation. So that was even ahead of his time, because I don't know if rappers were you know, they were going on shows and trying to talk about the reason why they were doing what they were doing, but Tupac was doing that. So that was another thing.
There was only two other ones that are doing it, Ice and Chuck, and Ice is older than Chuck. So you talking about grown men? 1990, Chuck D was 30. Ice-T almost 70, man. Ice-T 65 years old. So they were grown. Yeah, Ice-T.
Hold on, Ice-T is 65?
At least 63.
I mean, older.
Wow.
Yeah, he's 65 at a minimum. Because me and Chuck are literally a decade, 2 days apart.
I'm completely shocked. He is 65 years old.
And see, the beauty in Chuck.
The
beauty
still playing a cop.
The beauty of Ice, though, is Ice got the same path Tupac had. Ice from New Jersey. And his parents died, and they moved him out to L.A. Ice 64. Ice-T is 64.
He must have just turned 65. Well, February 16th.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man. Ice older. So I can't give them the credit we have to give Pop because they were grown men on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He literally came out of the womb as an activist. He didn't have a choice. It was just that was what he was around. Whenever he had I'm sure whatever he was around, it was against it was around something that was power to the people. So like a
lot of us were doing it.
Let me ask, I know this is totally off topic, but did he shoot that officer in the booty?
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Both of them just
the funny part was when he got in that the back of the police car and he like laid down.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that I did not know that story.
True marksman skills.
True.
Straight for the boot.
Very proud of you and your podcast. So I appreciate that. I'm not sure who that is, but I think that's in the end of the bench group. So we appreciate you. Whoever you are, StreamYard.com/Facebook. So we can see who you are. We can give you a proper shout out. Now the Shakur last name, that was something else that I felt like was that's not talked about enough, and how that was more so the name of Lumumba Shakur's dad, who was a what did they call it? Not a shaman, but he was a what did they call that? He was a leader of a mosque or something
out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, and how people were just were taking on that name just because of how powerful it was. I feel like that, like us as people, we are so magnetic that people gravitate to us. I sometimes ask, like, why do people come up to me? Why do the weirdos gravitate towards me sometimes? Let me think about that. Like the people that want to talk all the time, or the people that I don't know. I'm not trying to call people weird, even though I did, but like we are just magnetic. We can't help it. That's the way God made us. Like we are completely different than anybody else on the planet. I don't care what nobody else say. Period.
I agree.
And this whole Shakur family was like that.
Yeah,
they were magnetic.
It was a different time, man. I can remember it was these dudes. This dude, I can't think his name right now, but he had a Hebrew camp in our neighborhood, and they used to have this slogan, "I am." And they used to take us on trips and things of that nature. And then all the men in my community started changing their name. My mother's boyfriend is a cat named Benny. He changed his name to Kali. And I remember the first time he got a call at our crib. And they was like, "Hey, can I speak to Kali?" And I'm like, "Ain't nobody named Kali." And he dude called back. I say, "Man, didn't I tell you?" And then he was like, "Hey, who they asking for?" I was like, "Kali." "Oh, that's me, man." I was like, "Oh."
I changed my name.
Yeah, it was a different time. It was, and see, that's why I do the show that I do, because a lot of that stuff is glossed over. We were on the trajectory of nothing but pride, and they put that dope, and they took away opportunities. And people always say, "Man, you got to be responsible for yourself." It's easy to say that, and looking back, but when you trapped in that thing, man, it's ugly.
Yeah. I don't know how I would. I just think, how would I even navigate through that? How do you navigate through not being able to get a job? Whatever you try to do is basically shut down. Like Bobby Seale was saying, we did World War I. You said, okay, when we come back, we could be good. We not. We went to Vietnam. We in Vietnam, and we still not good. So it's like you can't win.
Bobby Seale's down there teaching in Texas.
Oh, really?
He's a professor in Texas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It was James Baldwin.
He was one of those, probably one of the most prominent Black Panthers that actually made it.
Right? Huey and Bobby created it.
Yeah,
they created it in Oakland. Bobby even ran for governor. I mean,
yeah, he did. Mayor. Yep. That wasn't something we watched. I'm not sure. I don't remember what it was. Yeah, he did run for mayor.
Yeah, man. I mean, like that's got to be hell, man. I mean, like you said, like James Baldwin said the same thing Bobby said. He said James Baldwin even went further. He said, "You asked my grandfather." He said, "When you emancipated my grandfather, you told him, wait a minute, we gonna fix it." And then you say you got my great grandfather, and you got my father. He said, "Now I'm 50 years old. You telling me to wait?
Right?
How much longer we gonna wait?"
Right. Yeah. Right. And then they touched on the 13th Amendment and how the prison is basically slaves. Now this is a good question, right? Is there an artist that could use their platform like Tupac today? Honestly, I don't know.
See, and I
don't know if you can say a particular name. I have to think about it.
See, the thing is, we've been, like I said this on the show a few weeks ago. A colonization is taking your land. Colonialism is taking your mind. And they've taken the mind of a lot of people and made them think the money is the thing. Money is the key. Money. Man, look, we got to get paid so money connects. So you can't avoid the money, but they made the money. They put the money in the forefront.
The money is the goal.
The money is the goal. Yeah. It's a lot of these MCs out here, man, that they doing the Tupac thing, but they're not. They don't get credit. What's the one boy? I think he in trouble now. He in Atlanta in trouble. Young Thug got this song, man. It's right. It looked like if you listen to it, it sound like Tupac wrote it, and he wrote it around the George Floyd time, and he got no run. So what you gonna do? You got a 20-year-old man saying, "I'm gonna give you $4 million if you rap about drugs and dope, but I'm gonna give you $40 if you rap about the real thing."
Well, they're not gonna give you no money for that. You got to fund that on your own.
Yeah, fund it on your own.
Yeah, you talking about Lil Baby?
Lil Baby,
called Bigger Picture or something like that. Yeah.
Yes,
he blew me away.
Murdered that joint.
He blew me away with that. That was like the answer.
Murdered that joint.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of MCs that they still doing it, man. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell somebody, look, man, write this rhyme and do this music the right way, and you're gonna make $400,000.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Juicy Head Fred over here talking about sniffing dope and shooting people, and he 40 million strong. It's
Now you may have some artists that they'll have a track on their album like that. They're not that album not gonna get that song not gonna get
played,
but it's gonna be on their album somewhere possibly. But yeah, Lil Baby, that's what we're talking about.
Lil Baby.
That's what a Lil Baby is.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first manager. Her name was Layla. And there's always somebody that sees something in you that you see in yourself, or it may not be fully blossomed yet. But shout out to her, because the way she kind of came in at the right time. Even she said it. I was kind of like his mom, his manager, his campaign manager. She was like, I didn't feel like I was managing an artist. I felt like I was managing a campaign, because he was going to go into the new Black Panther Party. He was going to be a chairman. So, and this was again still early on in his life. But touch on that, Keysha.
Now I'm listening to you because because I mean I remember her, but I think I might have tuned her out a little bit.
Why you say that?
I remember her name, but I don't remember anything she said. I think I may have tuned her out. So that's what I'm saying. I remember her name, but I don't remember much about everything she said.
She was his, I don't know if that was his first and maybe his current manager until he died. I know the publicist was another lady that they interviewed, but she was saying he was like the Marvin Gaye of rap. And you think of what Marvin Gaye did, his music during that time, and that obviously that was a little bit before my time, but I have this Marvin Gaye album that I listen to from time to time, and I'm like, wow, the stuff that he's talking about. You think it was just like, I thought he was just a soul music artist, or an R&B type artist, but the dude was really touching on what was going on during that time. Same thing Tupac was doing.
Yeah.
Juicy Head Fred. Yeah, that's a
don't do that.
that's an HR special right there.
Yeah,
great catching up. Yeah, appreciate you, Smitty. Appreciate you, man.
But that to touch on that Marvin Gaye thing, that's the direct parallel. And we were saying that again. We were saying that when he came out, man, because dude, that same song video, man. Okay, imagine if, like, you'll see a video with my man Chains, and you see Boosie Badass. Just imagine if you saw Busta Rhymes. I'm trying to think of Redman, Busta Rhymes, and then a pro-black dude showed up. That's what Tupac was on that same song video. He's talking about all around the world, same song. And they rapping, and it's the soundtrack to this movie. And this dude show up being carried like a king in African garb and was spitting. We stopped. I remember the first time I saw that, I was at my man Tran Brown crib. And we just stopped and was like, dude got it.
Who is this? Yeah, who is this cat?
Like,
right?
He got it. And
and shout out to Shock G. Shock G don't get a lot. He don't get a lot of notoriety for. He didn't discover him, but he was the first one that said, "All right, you can join this group." And basically, he worked his, like you said, he worked his way into doing what they need, whatever they need him to do. And so Shock G deserves a lot of respect for his rhyming skills and everything. He's got an interview. I think it was called Thug Angel. I think it was a documentary called Thug Angel, when he talked about how Tupac flowed and how Biggie flowed. He talked about their different styles. Like the dude could have been
when he was just sitting there, you only see him from the neck up.
Right. I mean, he could have been a professor somewhere on the history of rap. I mean,
listening to y'all, I need to do better about listening to these songs, because that same song, all I know is the first part. I came to the party to get naughty. That's all I know. I've never seen that video.
Yeah, they were more of like a party group, but I think
they said they did. They were the party. They were the party. They made party music.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
want to come around and hang around with the underground, man. Dude, we was like, man, that dude grabbed us, and and I ain't gonna lie, man. I wish I would have. My crew, we had took over the north side of Chicago, and the north side is the weak side because I told y'all Chicago is segregated, and we live closer to white people than anybody. But we had the whole neighborhood dressing like we dress, and then something came about, and people started talking, and people got grown and had kids, but we never, like, they knew it. I didn't understand that rap was a job. I thought it was just something we liked. It wasn't a career. We second generation hip hop, so we ushered in everything. And I was too stupid to realize, and I do mean that, stupid, because how could I not know? I never knew it could be a career. It was this is what we do, And man, and
I got a dude in that I went to high school with. His name was Mr. Fab. Stanley. I call him Stanley because we went to high school, whatever. But this dude is if you think of Too Short, he's almost the equivalent to Too Short in Oakland. He's got a store there in Oakland. It's called Dope Era, and Dope actually stands for, it's an acronym for something. I don't remember it, but like you think about the time he was beating on the table rapping, and some people you just think like, wow, this he was the one that actually did it. Out of our entire class, he was the one, and Tupac was that one, during his class.
Yeah, man, and it was just insane, man. The whole vibe, and like you were saying, is there anybody that could do it? It is people doing it. Like even with Tupac, KRS-One, who's 3 years older than me. If you listen to his album Edutainment, he telling you not to eat beef. Hip hop was telling you say no to drugs, even though some of those dudes are using drugs. Hip hop was telling you to wear condoms. it was what we did, man. And they pushed all that to the back. And I refuse to blame NWA because NWA had my undivided attention. They was the dopest thing smoking.
Yeah.
But they saw what the powers that be saw what NWA did. And they knew they could trick us. They knew it because we were young and it's rebel culture. Right. See, that's what people don't understand. Hip hop is rebel culture.
Going against the norm.
Yeah. We used to look at the Panthers and Kwame Ture and Bobby says, I used to go to they used to come to Chicago State University in the summer, and it's 45, 50 hip hop cats at a Kwame Ture lecture, and the intellectuals, they're looking like, what y'all doing here? We like, he the man.
Yeah.
And man, so if we ever take control of the medium again, like me and Big Mo got a show called A Playlist that we working on. And if that ever catch on, we can bring it back. But it's easy. But the dude Tupac was he stayed focused. That's what he did. He stayed focused. He stayed focused.
It was funny that a comment this guy made. It was like, man, this dude lived like 3 different lives in a short amount of time, because he was acting, he was doing the music, and he was activist, all really all in one. Mm-hmm. Like some people don't do one of them things in their lifetime. Mm-hmm. He's now, doing 3.
Didn't he say he was supposed to play in what was that, Menace to Society?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now I've never seen that movie. So
you never seen Menace to Society? That's a classic. Jada Pinkett in it.
What was that guy's name he was supposed to play? I can't remember. It was like
Hakeem.
Studious
he was supposed to play the Muslim.
Yeah. The smart guy.
And ironically, the dude that Tupac was supposed to play, guess what Tupac said? He ain't deep enough for me.
Yeah.
That's why they fell out.
Mm-hmm.
I got to charge my laptop.
Yeah, but it's just it's a sad commentary about that young brother. And what I hate, this is something that I took from this documentary in the first 2 episodes. And I fell for the okie doke. They used to always say, man, Tupac used to act like Bishop, and then he started acting like this, and he started acting like that. Well, you know what? When I between the ages of 17 and 25, I was about 5, 6 different people too.
Yeah, he was multi-dimensional. Like he came out, and they talked about this, and that was in the film, that the motion picture film that came out. But how he did Dear Mama, and then he would do
Hit 'Em Up,
and then he would do like Changes. Like he didn't do just one type of song or type of music. Then you do California Love. Like that's what makes you an artist, though. That's like every artist is not, they don't do the same thing every time.
The greatest thing about Tupac as an MC, even when I stopped liking him a little bit, and I was like, I would listen. Like it's this one song where he tell a story about buying a little piece of dope and growing it and growing it. By the end of the song, he was a kingpin. And one thing I liked about Tupac that like I prefer Smalls over Pac even to this day. But what I loved about Tupac knew how to hit the bullseye. Tupac hit the bullseye on every single song. I'm rapping to Keysha, and everything about this song is gonna get Keysha's attention, and it's gonna get every woman in this world attention. And I'm rapping H-Rap. No, you know what? I'm rapping black stuff. H-Rap gonna pay attention. And I'm gonna hit. He hit the bullseye on every song.
He was like a preacher. A preacher give you them. They give you 1 to 3 points. They can hit them points, and I think that let's touch on that Biggie and Tupac thing. Biggie was almost like a jazz. He was a storyteller too. But he wasn't on the activist. It was just like smooth New York, rhyming. But I think Tupac, he had a mission that seemed like on every song. Even if it was Hit 'Em Up, it was to destroy Biggie. He destroyed Biggie. Lie.
And the beautiful part about Hit 'Em Up, even I listened to that too. The beautiful part about Hit 'Em Up, it's people don't identify it, but Hit 'Em Up is old school underground New York hip hop.
Oh, right.
You don't identify it because he's saying some outrageous stuff.
Some foul stuff, but
Like
Hey,
you
if you
take
want,
it back to
if you wanna bury somebody,
that's what you do.
that's what you do. You don't
That's what
hold
you
back.
do.
It's not no.
That's Jack the Ripper. That's
Yeah.
Run DMC. Which we 2 MCs and we are a crew. We're not 5, we're not 4, not 3, just 2. People hear that and they go, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2. That's nothing. No, we're not the Funky 5. We're not the Fearless 4. We're not the Treacherous 3. It's just 2 of us.
Yeah.
They dissed the hottest groups at the time.
Right.
But people, if you ain't in the hip hop culture, you're thinking 5, 4, 3, 2. That's stupid. No, we dissing them.
Yeah.
MC Hammer started his career dissing. And we got mad at him, because this is dancing dude dissing. But he's like, when it comes to rapping, I'm second to none from Dougie Fresh to LL and DJ Run. I'm dissing the hottest dudes in the world right now.
Right.
And then y'all gonna listen to me and y'all gonna watch me dance around. I'm gonna get rich.
Watch me do the typewriter.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
But, hey, so when Hit 'Em Up came out, Pac said he used the same formula.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ice-T did it. He got famous. He dissed LL.
Right. You go after the biggest dude on the block,
man.
Yeah.
Like my man in the wire said, you go after King, you best not miss.
Right.
And Pac didn't miss.
He did not miss. I mean, he had his whole the outlaws click on there too. And he went after Mobb Deep. They was going after everybody.
Man, this man dissed LL Cool J in one song, man. He said, LL, I'm gonna rock your MF beer. I'm like, what? Man, he mad at everybody.
Yeah, but like he said like somebody said, if he was mad at you, he was mad at you. Like you was dead to him. Like the Hughes brother, the brother that, because I didn't know that they had beef. Like so they ended up having beef because he didn't get the Minister Society role. But I don't know, Keysha, you want to touch on that?
But who did he write? I ain't mad at you about then. What was that one about?
Oh, that was just a friend song. That was one of those.
That one, I like that one.
Song. I ain't mad at you. This is like, hey, I ain't mad at you. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had to have been one of those artists that after he passed, the amount of music they was still dropping. That's I was in high school when he what was that 96?
96.
I think that was 96.
September 96.
We was big in the Source, man. We was big in the we would bring the Source. That first Source magazine released was basically showing him and how he died, and there was all these conspiracy theories in there. And the whole school, we wasn't paying attention to nothing in class, man. We was just reading the Source in the back.
Gosh, 96.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember this dude's name. His name is Butch. We were at work.
That's his real name?
No, I can't think his real name. I can't think his real name.
He's a cover-up name.
He's a sucker anyway. But he come to work, man, and he knew me and my man Nolan. We were hip hop dudes. This dude comes to work the day after the month, like Tupac died, like on a Saturday. He came to work Monday. We getting y'all back. What? What are you talking about?
What we getting y'all? Which we y'all?
It was y'all, right?
He was like, we getting y'all back. West Side. And me and Wood, talking about, we'll whoop you. We looking like, man, we'll whoop you, man. You're 27. I'm 26 years old. We'll whoop you.
Plus, we in Chicago. This is the Midwest.
This dude can tell you the effect Tupac had on people. You know how West Coast people say core. It was cats in Chicago and in Michigan saying core. You from Chicago, man.
Sounded like the greatest. So core.
Yeah, they sound like the great, man.
The great.
I'm like, man, you had cats. You had cats out here getting tattoos on their stomach. Like
thug
life.
Nah.
I just got mine done. I just got mine done. Thug life.
And then the 50 niggas. I didn't know that meant.
I didn't either.
That was another message. That was another message in there.
Yeah, message. Yeah.
It was man. The dude was. See, people just. I think they took him for face value, like, oh, he's just a thug. You see thug life, but you don't know thug life means something. You don't know if 50 niggas means something. You don't know the stuff he did meant something. It had a meaning.
Niggas. He turned niggas into an acronym. Never ignorant, getting goals accomplished.
Yeah. Which that means something else.
Yeah. I mean, I think he did that on the second album. He was like, no, you know how he be ranting on his albums.
Right.
He was like, no, I was like,
man, Hail Mary. That's still one of the
Run Quick See.
Yeah, man, you could play that song at any point in time.
Yeah.
Play that song at a basketball game and people will be singing it.
I'm trying to tell you.
And you know what's funny?
Want to get up.
He told you he wasn't mad at Biggie and Hail Mary.
Because that was cool. They was cool with each other.
Yeah, no, but that's when he died. He told you what he was doing. I peeped the weakness in the rap game and exposed it. I know this is gonna make me some money. Yeah. So this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was smart. He was not dumb.
And see, that's the beauty.
He could be a little irrational sometimes, but he was
not dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 24, man.
Right.
I mean,
what you expect, man?
Man, let me tell you some of the stupid stuff me and TSP was doing. We was Tupac's age.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to literally walk down the street and take off on it. We had this thing, man. If you look like a sucker, and we had two things we did, like go to a party and the fight, you know, some star with you just said he on me. And the person who said who he on me, the closest person to him, we jumped. And then we would be at the park, just walking around, we 20 deep. And if somebody wasn't near, if the person near you, you said hot coffee. And whoever was near a stranger, we took off on them. So I understood it. It was stupid, but we thought it was tough. And then a couple of times, the dude who's like Chris Nesbitt, he took off on his white boy. His white boy almost drowned him. Because we was at the beach. White boy had us up under the water. And Chris was a big joker, man. That white boy was duffing Chris. We were so busy laughing, he almost drowned Chris.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah. You
gotta be careful.
Pick your paws.
Yeah.
This is true.
But
the Ronald Howard story, how they basically said, okay, which that was his defense. That was his defense. That's what the lawyers told. I believe that's what the lawyers told him to say. I don't know. Music can affect you, but can it make you do something? I'm not gonna go that far.
Yeah.
But they had to pin it on this. It's always somebody they gotta pin something on. They didn't do that with Eminem. They didn't say, "Well, Eminem, you causing everybody to do drugs and
beat up their
wives." Yeah, right. Beat up. Yeah. But yeah, I had to look that up and see. Well, he did get executed. So
that wasn't a court case. That wasn't a court case. He walked out like George Jefferson would.
Mm-mm. That's the shoot in the butt court case.
It won't be shown. Okay.
But yeah. Man, the movies, man, Juice, Poetic Justice, man, that's still a classic to this day, man. Like the range that this dude had, and it goes back to his high school days when he was at a performing arts school. So like he had the groundwork to do these things. It's not like he just all of a sudden said, I want to be an actor. Mm-hmm. He was already practicing the stuff. But the high quality films above the rim, like the films he was in are classics. He didn't do now the one towards the end he was the cop. I forgot what that one was called. That one.
I know the one he was in a warehouse.
It was called it wasn't Gridlock.
That's exactly what it was called.
It was Tim and Tim Roth or something like that.
Gridlock.
Okay.
That movie sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about some of the films, Keysha, when they were showing.
I did like Juice. Now, to me, on that movie, that kind of showed him as cuckoo, especially where he showed up behind Omar, the fat ass Omar Epps' locker. When he closed that door, that fool was just standing there. I'm like, oh, just great. Now, I've never seen Gridlocks. I've never seen Above the Rim. Don't take my black card.
You gotta see Above the Rim.
Poetic Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And him and Janet, like the what they had on screen, man, that was gold. And shout out to John Singleton. Rest in peace to him.
Oh yeah.
Great people.
Yeah.
Great people transitioning, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and for him to do Snowfall, which I got to go back and watch it. I'm way behind.
John Singleton did Snowfall.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. Now somebody probably took it over. I'm assuming when he passed.
Right.
He produced it, and the lead writer on there is my favorite one of my favorite black authors. His name is Walter Mosley.
Oh,
Have you ever seen that movie, Devil in the Blue Dress?
Yeah, Walter Mosley. Yeah.
I can't even get into Snowfall. I don't see how people watch that.
It's good. It's good.
It is.
Now it shows obviously he's selling drugs, obviously, yes. But it's the storyline, I think, more so and showing how he basically took nothing and turned it into an empire. Now the last episode he ended up going, I haven't watched the full season, but he ended up being poor and basically homeless.
He ended up
he was happy.
His dad. Keish, Snowfall is the story of Rick Ross. It's loosely based on Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross, not the rapper.
I thought you were about the biggest boss. I'm like, well, I need to watch that thing.
Now, because Rick Ross, funny enough, was a correctional officer.
Yeah, he's a correctional officer.
Rick Ross never sold no drugs.
Yeah, but this dude, Freeway Rick Ross, the United States federal government funded him to sell the dope and put the dope in the streets to fund the Iran-Contra thing. The Iranians fighting the Russians, and the Contras fighting the Russians in Central America, so they won't be a communist country. And they use black people in Oakland. They use black people in California, New York, LA, St. Louis as basically.
You talking about that Oliver North case?
Yep, that's what that.
I think I need to watch that thing.
That's what they never get to the Oliver North thing. They show you everything but Oliver North in this, and they show how he's manipulated into like a CIA agent manipulated Franklin. He crashed into his car and said, "You got to sell this dope to get my car fixed." And when he was successful at it, he kept using them and blew them up to $70 million. And then when he got to 70 million, he took it from him and made him lose his mind. Yeah. And people to this day, they've been arguing like, man, he should have just got over it. But in my personal opinion, it is a microcosm of what happens to Black America. We get indoctrinated into these ways of life, and then they snatch the rug from up under us, and we like, hold it, and we scrambling, and we sometimes we lose who we are. And he had the opportunity to walk away, but he even says it at the end in the final episode, the next to the last episode. He was like, I thought at some point we could be friends, man. I thought we would be going to cookouts together, and you took everything from me. You demoralized me, and people don't get it. That is a microcosm of America. You put us in the trick bag. You put Black Americans in the trick bag, and then you say, okay, well, we're gonna give you this. Right. Tulsa, Oklahoma. You build Tulsa, Oklahoma up, and you got white men saying, how can he afford to have a piano in his house? I can't even afford that. And they burn down the town. And then when you read, like most people don't read, I'm a nerd, so I read the grand jury thing, and they literally say in the grand jury of Tulsa, Oklahoma, we'll never let those niggas build up nothing like this again.
Yeah.
So,
which
people think
hadn't really happened.
People go, "Oh, H-Rap, you always blame it." No, I'm not blaming anybody, because, like people always say, you are responsible for everything you're doing, but everybody don't have the intestinal fortitude to get through it. And when you are not as strong, or when you're not strong enough, and you succumb to the trap, I can't really blame you, because it is set up that way. And that's what Tupac, and again, tie this back into this, that's what Tupac was talking about his whole career. Yeah. Yeah. But unlike Chuck D and KRS-One, he had the foresight to keep it gangster. Well, I personally believe Tupac saw, it's this one song KRS-One got, Love's Gonna Get You. KRS-One had went right into positivity. You must learn, and don't eat beef, and 100 guns, 100 clips headed to New York. And he had got into saving the community so hard, but he made that song, Love's Gonna Get You. And it was about him being a drug dealer, and it shot him up to the top of the charts. personally, I believe Tupac saw that song and said, I got to be negative so I could stay relevant.
Yeah, and you remember that story early on when he was like, yeah, I was trying to talk to this girl and I was nice and all that, and she shot me down. And then, so I just started doing what the other dudes was doing. I think there was a lot of things that they were talking about it, how it was a lot of little things that happened that kind of just ripped the Band-Aid off. And it was like, look, this is literally what sells, but also this is how I'm going to get across to you what I'm trying to say. And
but you know what, though,
he
speaking
got his point across.
As a woman, sometimes a lot of women, we want somebody to cuss them out a little bit, make that right. So, right. I mean.
Yeah. And you know, to talk about the dynamics of him when he did Dear Mama and then he do I Get Around. Right. he could get ladies from both. Because if you're talking about you rapping about your mama on the song, the ladies gonna like that. And if the music video, I mean, like the dude was so multi-dimensional at that age. I just imagine sometimes if he would have made it to 40, like what would he be at 40? We'll never know. But
the sad part
would be amazing.
Sad part is most people who think like him don't make it to 40.
Yeah, you're right.
Marvin Gaye died on his birthday, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, and it's just. I've been listening to a lot of older music lately, and it's this song that Marvin Gaye talks about. It's called "Flying High in a Friendly Sky." He's talking about being a drug addict, man. And if you listen to that song, you'll go, good grief. Cloud 9 from the Temptations, they talking about being drug addicts, man.
Yeah. And a lot of them, I say that I talk about this a lot. You ever watch Unsung on BET?
Oh my gosh.
That is a great show, but it's a sad show at the same time because that was their aid. They didn't go to the doctor. They didn't go to a therapist. They did crack or drugs or whatever to get that edge off. And it's like that's what they kind of had to do.
I got a homeboy, man. I wish him a speedy recovery. His name is Chris. He has cancer right now, but he used to be a heroin addict. And you know, I'm an inquisitive cat, man. I want to know why. I just like to know why. And one day, me and Chris, we were sitting up drinking. We in the park drinking. And I said, Chris, man, what made you try heroin? He said, man, heroin. I started using heroin. And he's like, first of all, it's like Viagra. He said, you ain't never going to get down like you get down on heroin. He said, so I started using it. He said, and then he said, after I got addicted, he said, man, heroin make you feel so good. You could see somebody shoot your mom in the middle of her face, take a bump of heroin, and you won't even be sad. So just imagine that tyranny that we were talking about from the 60s and the 70s. That's why people using that heroin, because they don't know about, like, you don't start smoking weed thinking I'm gonna be addicted to weed. You don't start using cocaine saying it's gonna be
right. I'm gonna be yeah.
So you start doing it as a release, as a relief. Because I ain't gonna lie, man, I've never wanted to use it, but I've always wondered, what does that feel like?
Yeah. And now you fast forward to now, and you got two different spectrums of it. You got the fentanyl that's in it, which if you even take a whiff of that from like 5 feet away, people
you can die.
Collapse. Yeah. And then you got people that say, well, if you just microdose and you just taking the little amounts, it helps your brain hit a different level. So it's just like two different, same thing with marijuana. Now it's like you can grow it, but you got dudes in jail from like 10 years ago. Like, come on, man.
This is the thing I want to know. This is something that I was talking to my homeboy who used to be addicted this weekend. We had my aunt's funeral. I mean, again, I like to find out why.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this, and I'd like to hear y'all opinion on it. Do people in America get high because they say you can't? Because look, Michael Ray Richardson, super drug addict, got kicked out the National Basketball Association for getting high. He went over to Germany where drugs are illegal.
Yeah.
And cleaned up. Marvin Gaye, same thing. We went over to Amsterdam and cleaned up. So is this a mindset? Like, I want what I can't have?
Go ahead, Keysha. I'll let you
I
answer.
don't think so. I don't think that's what. Well, you know what? Now I think about it. I guess it can go both ways. Because I mean, you make a great point. Because why would you try to get it if you know you can't have it?
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
true.
Interesting.
I think it's both. I think it's both.
Yeah.
Now, because if you can't, then it's something that you can't have, quote unquote, that you want to try to get, and you got to get it illegally. So it's like you trying to go around. Same thing if we were wind all the way back with sometimes the black man wanted that white woman because they couldn't have it. It's the same. It's the same kind of the same concept. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both.
And then when you get it, it wasn't worth it.
You sure right about that.
Because you dead, and she went on with her life.
That one time I'm not gonna say where I got it from, but I had some butter, right? And I didn't know, I just made me a little grilled cheese sandwich, So, somebody that I know was standing in the kitchen next to me and didn't say nothing. Like, Mama, I'm sorry. Keysha, you put too much on that bread. Like I put it on both slices, right? And I flipped this joint over. I'm like, all right. So cut it in half. It was all pretty, beautiful, golden brown. I just ate it. I'm like, okay, this is all right. I was at work. I mean, it was an old job I had, it's an old job.
Yeah.
So
a couple jobs ago,
Yeah, about 5 jobs ago. So I was sitting there at the computer, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm just working. And everything went black. And I'm like, I know what this is. I know what it is. But I wasn't straight for like 3 days. I was messed up for 3 days. Then I had to get up and go to church and sing. I was messed up for 3 days straight. I just stood there like this. Oh, sir, just... So I was effed up. Huh?
You was messed up, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was messed up. I couldn't even sleep good. I was just up because I thought I was gonna die. I'm gonna die. So I made this video, right? And I don't know why I started recording myself. And I'm like, if I die, it's because of this, And so somebody got a hold of the video. They've been laughing at it ever since. So yeah, like, I'm gonna die. That's why I kept saying I'm dying. But like the Lord, I'm still alive. So yeah.
But you talk about some of these people like Michael K. Williams, great actor.
I know.
Got a hold of the wrong from whoever it is, and even with kids nowadays. I mean, it's like, and that man, this ties into what we've been talking about. Is how then it's like you want the money, you want to be able to get this money to be able to do this stuff. But you don't know who it's going to affect. You don't know how it's going to affect somebody. And that blood is on your hand.
And nowadays
you got to answer for that.
Stuff.
You got to answer for that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I learned my lesson.
All right. So let's kind of round it out with my notes at. So going into episode 2 talks about changes and how he had the beef with one of the Hughes brothers, and he was under a lot of stress. So he ended up moving to Atlanta in 1994. I don't remember that either. Now, was that I can't wait to 3 because I'm like, he didn't stay there that long, obviously. He came back, he was in LA, later on. So
no, he moved to LA after he went to jail.
Oh yeah.
He was in Atlanta for a minute, man. I mean,
I'm sorry, I mean cut you off. I'm gonna say this, but I thought the only people that moved to Atlanta was like, the gay people.
Not during that time. In the early 90s.
I thought that was just like the home of. No offense to homosexuals.
No. I mean, you partially right, but during that period, it was like black heaven.
Oh.
I mean, it was.
No offense, homosexuals. I'm sorry.
And it was slower.
It was a lot slower.
So A-Trap, you talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
You had, these girls would have a baby and they would go down south, and then they come back with the baby at the mom or the auntie's house or whatever.
Yeah, just my auntie baby.
You kind of go to let things cool down.
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing. I mean,
it was a lot of them in the South. I remember a whole bunch in the South.
But at the end of the day, Pac was Pac. wherever he was, it didn't matter. I don't think wherever he went, it wasn't no cooling period. That was just him.
Yeah.
Like you think I'm gonna be quiet just because you come to Atlanta? Like, nah.
So and then Atlanta during that period, man, it was like okay, metaphorically, New York was Mecca. You know, that's where everybody had to be.
Yep.
Atlanta was what black folks were, man. It is what Atlanta is now, but it was the beginning of it because it was nothing for like me and Craig and Stace to wake up and be like, man, let's go down to the A. 12 hours later, we in the A rocking. I'm talking about it was nothing. And then Sunday morning we wake up, we back in
back. Yeah.
We 88, 24, 57, we home.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Snoop. You remember when Snoop had all that beef with Death Row, and where did he go? You went to New Orleans with Master P.
With P.
Yeah, he did a couple albums there, and then he came back. Like that's.
And I mean, it was a beautiful situation, man. Because like in the 90s, when you went down to the A, everybody was like, you know, it was nothing to be at a party and you standing next to somebody. Yeah, like I remember last time when I was young enough to kick it in the A, I was standing in front of the Velvet Room. You remember the Velvet Room?
Yeah.
I'm standing in front of the Velvet Room and I'm talking and this dude is talking and he keep talking to me and I went cap and I'm like, what's this? He's talking to me, man. And I'm like, he said, man, that's Big Gip. He said, that's Gip from the Goodie Mob. And I was like, oh. I'm like, yeah, but he's still talking too much. You know. And,
Gip talk too much, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, we would see when I was there, we would see 112,
it was nothing to see these people there.
Really?
Yeah, because I was there. That was their area.
Like, that was their area.
That's where they rolled.
And so when Tupac is in LA, I mean in the A, and Juice is on the screen, we not thinking this is a star. Oh, that's old boy from Juice. But look at that girl. That's all it was. But look at that girl though. Yeah. Tupac here, but Shorty looked good, and it was unreal, and everybody was in the A at that time.
And that was before Outkast.
Nah,
Outkast
was popping. You know,
that was 96. Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
yeah. See, when Tupac was hitting, Outkast had already hit.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
We talk about
that was 92. That was 92 when they was
Gold Crusher. We talking about. Let me see. BJ was 3 and 96. So yeah, I remember being down there with me and you, your mom and you. We had to joint with these people, but it's hip hop. We only thinking it's hip hop. That's why it never connected with me. This could be a job. I mean, you could parlay this.
Yeah, you could make something with this for real.
Yeah, but. Yeah, so yeah, man, Pac was down there and wilding out.
So did y'all? Oh, Keysha dropped off. Did you watch a part of episode 3?
I watched this whole thing.
Oh, you already watched the whole thing?
Front to back.
So, all right, so give us a little sneak peek. Episode 3.
I don't even remember what episode 3 is, but I'm thinking episode 3 is focused. If I'm correct, episode 3 was focusing on his mom and the greatness of his mom. And you know what, man? I remember when that song came out, Dear Mama, I was so caught up with the media hype. I was like, man, this is what I was telling people. Hey, man, my mama wasn't no drug addict, so I can't relate. But when I'm listening to that song now, it made me love my mom. It made me fall in love with my mom again. Even though I never fell out of love with my mom, it made me realize who my mama was again.
It makes you appreciate your mom, no matter what the flaws were. Which all of our parents have flaws, but
true.
It made you appreciate them more because the stuff they had to go through just to raise you.
Yeah,
and then if you got siblings, what they got to do to raise all 3 y'all or 4 or whatever. So
5.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, all by herself.
Yeah,
wow. And I mean, that's amazing. That is amazing alone by itself.
Yeah, then had to deal with the embarrassment that we went through because growing up, my father was a pastor and art teacher at school. Everybody knew us.
Yeah.
And when he fell from grace, everybody knew about it.
Yeah.
And she never gave up. My mama never gave up. So that song did, like you said, I didn't fall out of love with my mom, but it made me learn to appreciate her more. Yeah. So, yeah. Because she could have easily dropped all us little nappy cheering off somewhere and went on by her own way.
What
because
about
she
her
had
own?
raised her siblings. You know what I mean? So,
just a caregiver all around.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And she never got a chance to live alone.
Wow.
Never had a chance to live alone.
Wow.
I remember the day that I truly understood because me and my mother, I'm hard, my head hard as a brick. And me and my mother used to bump heads all the time because I was the one child, only boy, and I grew up. I didn't even realize I was bigger than my mother, but I was the dude that was like, yeah, Bo and Phyllis, they gonna do what you said, but I'm gonna go ahead and get whooped. Like, hey, Brian, be home at 9. I'm like, Mom, I'm 17. I'm not coming in at 9. Right. I'm gonna whoop yo. I'm getting whooped tonight. Hand me that bill, because I'm finna get it in. She gonna beat me when I get home, right? I remember the day that I really appreciate my mom was 1994, December 13th, 1994, December 13th. This is my mother's birthday. I was 24 years old. I finally got a job that I was making some money that I didn't have to save. So BJ a year old, I'm making good money, and I buy my mother a leather jacket. And I took her to her house, and she said, I never had a leather jacket. I was like, what? I'm thinking, because my mother was insanely funny. I said, come on, man, we laughing. She said, no, I never had a leather jacket. I said, for real? I said, you've been buying me leather jackets since I was like 6. And in true Dolores fashion, she said, you think they came and buy a kid, get an adult free?
I would give her free leathers? No.
I was like, and then that's when everything flashed in front of my life about my mother. I'm laying in the bed that day because I wasn't even living with her then. I went in because then I said, man, you kept my room the way it was. I was like, she said, no, that's my room. I said, no, my trophies and stuff. She said, you ain't paid for none of them trophies. Those are mine.
Right.
So I'm laying in the bed. I'm looking at my room. I'm like, man,
your mama's room.
Yeah, right. I'm looking at my mama's room.
The stuff that she bought. Or the stuff you renting, basically.
I'm laying in the bed, and I'm like looking around, and that's when I heard all those no's. No was never no. No was I can't afford it. Because then I realized I've never asked this woman for anything twice. Ma, one thing she just no was no on that one. The Jordans. 1984, my cousin Dre gets some Jordans. And because he got 2 parents, my Uncle Richard and his mama. And his mama was married. So Dre had a couple of things that I didn't have. So my Uncle Richard bought Dre these Jordans. So, hey, Ma, can I get some Jordan? She was like, them $100 shoes? I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, they cost $100. I was like, the shoes go from 39 to 100. They didn't even get to 50 now. They went 39 to 100.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, you can get some Jordans right after he started wearing Brian's. I was like, but I realized I never asked for anything twice in my life. It was either no, which meant I can't afford it, or I got it in a week or 2.
Yeah. And in this state, the mom was talking about how she was gonna whoop Tupac, and he raised his arm up like, I'm not gonna let nobody do this anymore. And I feel like everybody's kind of had that moment where you like old and your mom like, yeah, and then you just, if she whoop you a couple times, you like, you done? You finish it, you done.
You're right.
And then that's when they finally click, like, okay, I can't do this no more.
Because my mom used to get out of breath beating me. Like, I'm like Brian, my head was truly hard. Like, I'm like, okay, Mom, I'm just going to take this whooping like a man. I just stand there.
Stand there and take it.
Get me. Yeah. Because I knew I was going to do it again. So, like, I mean, either you're going to get tired of whooping me, or I'm going to get tired of doing what you told me.
Your arm going to get tired, or one of them
ain't going to get tired.
I never got tired of doing stuff I wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah.
I would do it, come back home, just be sitting up, chilling with my feet up, and she go get the belt, and I'd be like, all right, here it is.
Right.
And then even cry, but
yeah.
Yeah. So, but my mom kept me in all the best pairs of Pro Wings, but I kept them clean though. I didn't get no name brand.
If I wanted Jordans, by the time I got any Jordans, because I paid for them from a job, that was it.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't.
I wasn't getting no
Nah.
Jordans.
And now,
to this day, she been
fast
gone.
forward to now, they over $200 an hour. I mean,
she
all they
gone.
doing is recycling the same ones. Anyway.
Yeah.
She been gone 12 years, 9 months, and she still ain't bought no Jordan.
Hey, I was gonna say Jordan is a genius, but actually it's Nike. Nike is the genius because all they're doing is recirculating the same shoes.
Hey man, hey, you said y'all said your mama got tired of me. Y'all, no, not me. I ain't never did no whooping, but I remember one time I used to, she had this thing. If you outside of my house at 12 o'clock, wherever you at, you better stay there. None of that, lady. I'm
sleeping. See when you climbing through the window? How you? Because I know she locked the door. I know she locked the door.
When they're on the 5th floor, I couldn't climb.
She locked that top lock. I don't know how you can get in.
Yeah. I used to lock the house down, so I would come in. I would ease the lock closed, and if you ease it open, it'd just go. This one night, I eased it open, and it went. Oh God!
The loudest possible sound. She was probably sitting right there.
She was.
Yeah, she was.
It went at the bell. And I go, oh God! I stand up. At the time, I wear glasses. I stand up, turn around. She went. Flop. I just saw a flash, a white flash. And I'm standing there trying to catch my bearings because I know it can't be nobody but this woman and punch me in the eye. And I'm like,
she did.
When I finally got my bearings, all I saw was her turning the corner into her room. And the next morning, she got up, cooked breakfast on Sunday like she did every Sunday. She cooked breakfast.
Yeah.
And she was like, "You want bacon or sausage?" And I'm like, "You just hit me in the eye.
You just knocked me out. I'm seeing stars right now.
Steak."
Yeah.
She shot me right in the eye. Right. She shot me right in the eye, man. And I laugh about it. I think about my mom. I think about, man.
When you said that made me think of Coming to America when he said, this dude punched me. I looked up at Martin Luther King.
Man.
That's me. I thought you was somebody else.
Oops, I think somebody else.
Hey, Martha Luther King punched me in the eye.
Hey. Now Mama ain't never punched me. She never punched me, but she sure whooped me. Woo, she's tied up switches together, tear me up, but I still kept on doing whatever I'm gonna do.
Hey, I got my mom was the only one that did the whoopings. There was one time though, she is like 5'2". Mm-hmm. And all I felt was her throwing me up against the wall. I don't know how she did it because I was obviously taller and bigger than her. And I was like, all right, I gotta stop. It's almost like she has superpowers. I'm like, I'm clearly bigger than you, but somehow
that was never enough for me. I was terrible. I gave my mama so much hell. I think I gave her all her gray hair.
Man, my mother told me that, Keysha.
Yeah, I was hell.
When I finally got taller, my mama looked at her hair. Look right here. I said, "Wow, you got gray hair." She said, "I raised you." Man, one time,
Joker,
my mama's grandmother, my great grandmama, the plan was every night, in summer, meet me at Mama Esther's house at 9 o'clock. My mother don't mean 9 o'clock; she mean 8:50.
Right. Yes.
If you get there at 9, she might be pulling off.
She gone. Rerun. You running behind the car, inhaling all that
man,
all the fumes, exhaust.
She had a picket fence around her house, so I'll come busting up the block. I'm coming from my dad's mom's house. I get there, and it's maybe 8:59. She said, "Didn't I tell you to be here at 9?" I'm like, "Mom," she snatched one of them pickets off the gate. And broke it across me. I'm like, and that might have been the last time she hit me because she snatched that picket off the gate and it just broke on me. And I'm like, what I do? And I guess she was like, I just broke a stick on this.
You were like, what's that? I mean, that's a black parent though. What's nearby? What I can whip you with?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she picked up anything to get me.
Yeah.
I remember I got popped with an ice tray.
With the ice still in it?
But I wasn't even in
She
it.
dumped the ice out
She
first.
popped me with an ice tray. She popped me with a racetrack one time. I still being bad though. I think I was my mama's worst child ever.
The belt from the purse.
Nah.
Don't let it be in the car. And she all trying to reach behind. It was like, nah, I'm just gonna get you when you get home.
I almost wrecked my car one time, popping Dee Dee, because she showed out in front of me at the church one time. She was a little girl. I told her tail up. I pulled that car off and whooped her.
Nah, my mom will wait. My mom will wait till you get home, take a shower, and then when you get out, you think you about to go to bed, you about to have some sweet
nice
dreams.
and spongy.
She's like, yep, got you.
Spongy.
Yeah, with that belt hit.
I got a couple of them.
Yeah, when you get out of the shower and that belt hit, man, it hit different.
A whole nother whooping, boy. You be good for about at least a month.
Yeah, that's when you had them long cries when you're not even on noise.
Yeah. Well, that's when you think you finna die.
Like, now breathe, because I ain't done. Breathe.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna say this to you. Make sure you value every single second with your mom.
Yeah.
Amen.
Every single second.
Yeah.
It's a horrible existence afterwards.
A blessing to still have your mom.
I will. And same, and what Afeni said during this, she said the last 5 years, I was present in my son's life. I felt like that was powerful right there. Because I mean, obviously she was talking in retrospect because he already passed, but like you never know. You never know when that moment's gonna come. So you gotta. She got herself cleaned up too.
Yeah.
Because obviously the drugs had a hold of her too. So
yeah, man.
But all right, episode 1 and 2. So we're just gonna rate it at the end. I don't think we don't need to do ratings, in between. But so next week is actually Memorial Day. Not Memorial Day, not Memorial Night.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, but I know where it came from.
Yeah, you do. But anyway, so we should be back next week. If not, we'll figure it out. But this was final thoughts. Just some final thoughts. I felt like this was the first 2 episodes definitely laid some good groundwork, some history. Where they grew up, where they were born, and then I think 3, 4, and 5. I mean, it's just going to continue to evolve and continue to tell the story. So, Keysha, final thoughts. Thank you for coming on tonight.
I really enjoyed the first and second, and I hope I can come back and discuss 3 and 4. But it did. It laid the foundation. It's beautiful, and I know the rest is going to be even better. So.
Now, did you say you watched some of 3, right?
I watched some of 3.
You want to give us a little sneak peek? No?
You gotta watch it.
Gotta watch it for yourself.
You gotta watch it. You
gotta watch it for yourself, people.
You gotta watch it for yourself. Yeah.
Now, if you guys have not seen this, it's on Hulu. It's available right now. And if you've watched this show for any amount of time, you just add a number to the end of that email so you can get that free trial.
And also free trial. And if you are paying for it, if you have the one where you got commercials, turn it off. Get commercial free. Because you don't want to miss out on anything. I was watching it the first time with the commercials. I had, I had to go call my son and get the commercial free to watch it again.
And the commercials is like 3 times louder than the rest of the show.
And it's garbage. So watch it on commercial free. All
right, A-Truck, final thoughts, episode 1 and 2.
Excellent documentary. And as you mentioned earlier, this is why I always say I don't ever want to see another biopic. I want to see a bio series. This is exactly why I'll never want to watch. I mean, you're going to watch them, and when you use a series, you get the story, not the gloss over, Right. So this was excellent. Thank you to the Hughes brothers for making me realize that I have fallen for the banana in the tailpipe, not liking them anymore, because I stopped liking them because all I saw was what they wanted me to see of him, and I stopped listening. I listened periodically. So this really made me go back and go, yeah, Pac was the man. Yeah. Like I said, I still like Smalls more. I'm always like Smalls more, but Pac was the man. Point blank, period, end of sentence.
And the Hughes brothers, to basically swallow their pride. Like I don't know, one of them got jumped.
Mm-hmm.
Like like that take a lot to say. Okay, now I'm gonna do a documentary about. I don't know how it ended. I don't know if
I think that they pieced it out before he died.
Pieced it out. Okay, cool.
The beautiful,
but when they switched the camera around and he was talking, I felt like that was another dope moment because he was like, "Now I didn't want to do this because I didn't want to be on this side of the camera to have to talk about this." But
hey, the funniest thing in this is when he say Tupac didn't beat me up. Them niggas with Tupac beat me up.
them 10 dudes beat me up. Yeah, that was when Snoop started laughing. Yeah, but hey, and I'll say this too, man. It's good to see Snoop. It's good to see Dre was in it for a little bit of a minute. Hopefully, he'll be in it, as it continues to go along. But it's good to see the rappers that were around him, those that knew him, those that came up with him. Those were some cool moments. So,
and
all right,
before we go, ain't nothing but a gangster party.
Yeah, that's another classic. That's another classic.
Gangster party.
Hey, ain't that but a gangster?
Yeah. And what was the one with KC and JoJo? Was it Tear 'Em Up? What was the name of that one? Hold on, let me look that up real quick before we get out of here. That was before KC and JoJo had the weird. How do you want it?
Weird about them drugs.
How do you want it? That's another one.
Who?
How do you want it?
That was a good one too.
Yeah, that's another good one. All right. So episode 3 and 4 next week. And Keysha, you're definitely welcome back if you were available.
Thank you.
Love to have you back on the show.
I'll make myself available for this. So yes, I will be delighted.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one. A-Trap, go ahead and close this out. It's been a minute, man. It seems like it's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been a long time. As I do, shout out to Reggie O'Shea, aka Combat Jack. Dream your dreams, man up and woman up and live your dreams. Because life without dreams flows in black and white. Life with dreams flows in Technicolor surround sound. And as usual, if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And if you need it, get it from God. God.
Him upstairs.
Him upstairs.